All right, in assignment number 9, we're going to create an app that converts or that calculates either speed, distance, or time based on which two we know. So let's name this speed converter. Converter is not really the right word. Speed, distance, time. We'll just name it speed, distance, time. All right, I'm going to keep the cat. No, I'm not going to keep the cat. I'm going to get rid of the cat. But I am going to add 3 buttons. So I'm just going to click Choose a Sprite. I like this one. So we'll start with him. We go to his costume. You can use whichever one you want, but I'm just going to leave it for the blue. So that way I don't have to change anything. I'm going to make sure I have the text selected as black. I'm going to click text, and I'm going to type in speed. All right, and I'm going to center that so it looks nice and neat. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate. So now I have a second one that says speed. Make sure the second one is selected, and I'm going to change the text to distance. And I'm going to spell it at least somewhere close to right. Click out of it and then grab it to move it so that it snaps to the center like that. And then I'm going to duplicate that one more time, and I'm going to make this one time. So T-I-M-E, click out, click back in to drag it over to the center, and there we go. All right, so let's click out of there. Speed, distance, time. And just to make it a little more visually appealing, let's see what kind of backgrounds we got. Let's just put in I don't know, the castle. Let's put in the castle. That's kind of neat. And then we'll put in, there's only 2 cars. There's a food truck, but that's a little gaudy. I guess we're stuck with the 2 cars. You know what? Actually, I'm going to go with the ship. I saw a ship down here somewhere, a sailboat. I'm going to go with the sailboat, and I'm going to change the background to something that has water. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Look at there. Looks like it's always been there. All right. So now we have our variables. So when I click on speed, I want it to ask me the distance and the time, and then calculate the speed. If I click on distance, I want it to ask me the speed and the time and calculate the distance. And then finally, if I click on time, I want it to ask me the speed and the distance, and then click on time. And then maybe we'll make the boat move just for fun. So we're going to need 3 variables. So go down to the variables. We need speed. Make sure you leave it for all variables. And then I'm going to do that because we already have a label, and that makes it nice and easy to see. Another one, distance. Again, leave it for all sprites. Move it over here. Double click to get rid of that. And then finally, we need time. Whoop. We definitely need to spell it right. So right click on it if you misspell it, rename it. If you spelled it right the first time, don't worry about changing it. All right, and then there we go. All right, so when we click speed, so our event would be when this sprite is clicked, we want to set everything to 0 first. So I'm going to set them all 3 to 0. So distance, speed, and time. And I'm going to right click on my variable and delete it so that it cleans up our list a little bit. And then I've clicked on speed. Make sure you're on the right icon here. And then I'm going to go to sensing. Getting better at picking, so I'm going to go to sensing. I'm going to go ahead and grab that because I'll need it in a minute. And I'm going to say, what is the distance? I'm going to store that in the distance variable. So whatever answer they give me goes in here, and then I'm going to use that to set the distance to that. And then I'm going to ask for the time. How long did it take? So how long? I'm going to go ahead and pull over the answer because I know I'm going to need it. And then I'm going to store that in the time variable. So I'm going to set time to answer. So let's test that. So click on speed. It says what's the distance? Let's say 100 miles. 100, and the time was 2. Perfect. So it sets everything up. All right, so now we have it setting everything the way we want it. We need to now set the speed to whatever the speed would be based on the distance and the time. Well, the equation for speed, so distance, speed, time formula, looks like this. So here's a good one. It has all three. So distance is equal to speed times time. That's not what we're working on. Right now we're working on speed. So speed is equal to distance divided by time. All right. So we go back over here and we want to put in division. And speed is equal to, again, speed is equal to distance divided by time. So we just do exactly that, distance divided by time. Okay, so let's test this out. So if I travel 100 miles and I do that in 2 hours, I should have a speed of 50 miles per hour. Now we're not going to worry about the units. I'm just showing you how to do the math here. So there we go. So speed is distance divided by time. Now if you wanted to swipe this little, as a matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to download this, make sure it is a .jpg or PNG, and I'm going to save that. And just so we have it as a reference, I didn't want to click that. Just so we have it as a reference, I'm going to bring it in. It's in my downloads folder. I'm going to shrink it down so it doesn't sink our sailboat. And I'm just going to put it right there. And I'll explain why they have it drawn as a triangle in just a second. But if I click on speed, it should ask, and everything should be good. I am going to drag that to my backpack to keep from having to put it all in again. So I'm going to drag that down to the backpack. It pops back up here because I want it to stay, but I also want to copy in my backpack. And then for distance, I'm going to pull this back out. That is not what I wanted. So let's get rid of that. That one's the one I wanted. So make sure you get the right one. All right, so when this sprite is clicked, so when distance is clicked, make sure your distance is lit up here. When your distance is clicked, you want to set everything to 0, and then you want to ask what is the speed. Okay, and we're going to set the speed to be whatever answer they gave. The time, how long that can stay. But this time we're calculating the distance because that's the button we clicked on. So if you look over here, it says distance equals speed times time. So let's talk about the triangle. See how the D for distance is on top? So that means you would multiply the S and T to get D, and you would divide the D and the S or the D and the T to get the other. Now we're not going to go into that because we're worried about this, but I wanted to explain the triangle. So we're calculating distance, so we need speed times time. So we can get rid of all that. We can get rid of that. Go ahead and get speed out because we're going to need it in a second, and then go up to the operations and get multiplication. All right, so now if I click on distance, I should get the correct answer. And I'm going to use the same numbers until we finish for testing. So I'm going to click on distance. For the speed was 50, and we were doing 50 miles an hour for 2 hours, so we should have went 100 miles. That is exactly right. Excellent. All right, and then the last one is time. So we're going to go back to the backpack. I'm going to drag that out. And then I'm just going to change it to match what I want. I want it to set everything to 0. I want it to ask the distance and the speed. And then I want to set whatever answer they give me, I want to set that to the distance. And then for this question, I want the answer to be the speed. And then now I'm going to calculate the time. So let's pull this down here for now. So the time, if you look at the little graphic we have here, the time is the distance divided by the speed. So we can actually put that right back because we need distance divided by, but we don't need time, so we can drop that over here. We need speed. So now we have that. So now if I run the program or click the icon, it says what is the distance? We're going to use the same numbers for testing. So 100. The speed was 50 miles per hour, so that should have taken us 2 hours. So if you want to keep this in your picture, you can. If you want to do something else here, you can. But try to pretty it up a little bit. But just make sure your math works. That's what you're going to be graded on. So make sure you name it. Make sure you share it. And then make sure you submit that link on Canvas.